fantasy side because you're still responsible for his half swing coverage.
All right, thank you, Bob. We will turn it to Tony Carilli, I believe now.
Does John want to? John, did you want to add anything in there? We scheduled a little bit of time for you to add stuff in there. We got we're about 15 minutes ahead of schedule, and we built in some time. John, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add there. Bob, you did about.
Okay. Yeah, there's some things that we ought to talk about. I work really closely with Tom, and we get along and we agree on most things. There's a couple of subtle things that we're not, widely, completely in agreement on, although pretty much. In a three-man system, you do not have to rotate in to take the batter runner to second base. So your objective in a three-man game would be to place yourself in the right position every single time on a play at first. And Tom got this pretty good, but I just want to emphasize it because we have a slight interpretation difference on what that means. If you have an opportunity to take a play at first in a three-man game, then the first thing you need to do is get into a position just inside fair territory, about 15 to 18 feet down the line behind the bag, so that you're able to see the facet of the bag that faces second base, because that's the facet of the bag that is going to be where the money is, on where you can tell whether somebody's off the base or not off the base, looking down the facet of the bag. So perfectly positioned is about one step into fair territory, about 15 to 18 feet behind home or behind the bag. That's perfect position. Doesn't mean that you're going to have to be there stationary. It doesn't mean that you don't adjust. But you don't have to get or overrun the angle, which Tom talked about in his presentation. So it's a pretty good place to be. If you are going to have a pickoff play at first base, you're going to start a little bit closer. So you're going to be like 10 feet behind the bag so that you can easily see the pitcher in between the position of the first baseman and the position of the runner leading off of first base. But then when a ground ball is hit, you should go straight back in fair territory to that same position we talked about before, which is just off the line, looking down the line on the facet to be able to see the facet of the bag facing second base. And I don't know how many of you caught it, but in the rules or in the mechanics videos that we've seen so far, there have been a few times that the plate or the base umpire rotated way into fair territory, overrunning the angle. In most of those cases, he was set, he was solid, he didn't miss the call. But why take the chance? And clarification at second base. For the umpire at second base in the three-man system, you're allowed now to work for U3, to work on the first base side of second base on the steal play, or the potential steal play, or the double play. You're allowed to be there. It is extremely common in especially the western half of the country that they almost all do it that way. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's not a bad look if you're looking at tags that are going to be on the outside of the bag. So consider that in your thought process to working U3 in the middle. Don't go there unless you're comfortable, but if you want to try it and you want to try to get a better look and you think it might help you, give it a shot. Try it. If you have a if you have a fly ball into your responsibility area when you're U3 in the middle, remember the little pie that you're responsible for is center field to left field. That's that pie you're responsible for. If you work U3 in the middle on the first base side, you're going to be approximately 15 to 20 feet further from whatever would occur in the outfield because of that position. You could still get a good angle, but you're not going to be as credible. So in some cases, you may want to vary where you're going to be based on what your prediction of the play is going to be. And that's all I really had that I wanted to amplify on that positioning mechanics video.